The National MS Society provides vital programs and services for people living with multiple sclerosis, which help support their physical, emotional, and social well-being. But we'd like to focus on an exciting new development in research, made possible in part by you, that could change the lives of millions in need.
Multiple sclerosis is a family of disorders where the basic problem is that the person's own immune system attacks the insulation around the nerve cells in the brain and the spinal cord.
This causes a variety of symptoms, including numbness, weakness, difficulty walking.
When I would run, my foot would start like I couldn't control it. It would start flopping, kind of like, is the only way I could describe it.
For someone with MS, it affects every aspect of their life, and it affects their immediate family, it affects their friends.
Virtually everyone knows someone else with MS. It may be a friend of the family, a colleague at work. Even two of our presidential candidates, Senator Obama and Governor Romney, both have MS in their family.
But MS doesn't show itself equally across the population. One group has always been more affected.
There's a great gender discrepancy. We have an overwhelming number of women to men.
By nearly 3 to 1, women are more at risk to develop MS than men. In 1998, a research initiative was launched to better understand the differences between the genders, funded in part with money raised by the National MS Society.
The gender initiative was set up for two main reasons. One was that we knew, obviously, that MS is more common in women, and the issue is, why is that? We also knew that women with MS tend to have a more quiescent form of MS during pregnancy.
Being pregnant, I was in a bubble, and I could never have imagined how amazing I was going to feel. You know, I joke with people that my biggest concern was heartburn. Instead of reaching for, you know, an injectable medicine, you reach for the Tums bottle.
Could what happens to a woman's body during pregnancy be a clue to solving the riddle of MS?
When you're pregnant, you're carrying a fetus who is really a foreign object in your body. It seems as though the estrogens are shifting the immune system so that it's not likely to attack the fetus.
When I found out that the pregnancy issue was so robust and there was such a dramatic reduction in relapse rate, I saw this as a major clue. There are so many factors that are increased during pregnancy. The idea was just to take them one by one. We then took Estriol and ran with that then in our phase 1 trial.
Could Estriol, which has been used to treat menopause in Europe and other countries, lead to a potential treatment for multiple sclerosis? That was what Dr. Rhonda Voskuil and her team at UCLA were determined to find out.
The initial study was done as the first test ever to see if a pill of Estriol could be protective. So we gave it for the first time to MS patients, and we were very happy with what we found.
What we saw with the first trial that we did with the Estriol was an 80% reduction in the number and the volume of these enhancing lesions.
Whereas again, the drugs that we have only reduce relapses by a third.
We also recognize MS now as a neurodegenerative disorder because we see atrophy, which is a shrinkage of the brain in line with Parkinson's disease or Alzheimer's disease. But there doesn't seem to be treatments that can impact that degeneration.
We think that Estriol should have a two-pronged approach whereby it would reduce immune cells from attacking the brain and it would make the neurons or the nerve cells less likely to die.
One of the fantastic things about Estriol will be the first medication that can be delivered in pill form. And that alone is a remarkable breakthrough.
I mean, who really can bear taking a shot every day to every week? It's a very psychological and physical burden. The exciting thing is that it is going to be very inexpensive. A lot of patients can't afford to buy shots. There's a huge financial burden.
MS drug therapies cost, on average, about $20,000 a year, or about $55 a day. You compare that to Estriol, which will cost about 50 cents a day.
You're not going to get the backing of a pharmaceutical company because it's not going to make a great deal of money.
That's why the MS Society stepped forward to fund this project.
Though phase 2 has only just begun, the outlook is very promising.
I'm just so happy right now to finally be doing a trial that is going to be taking us a step closer to FDA approval. And this phase 2, starting this 2 as we're doing, is that first step. And we finally are taking it.
Every time I wake up in the morning and I have a new onset of symptoms that I've never experienced before, I grieve again. And the thought of that being over, of having a treatment that would allow me to not have to ever grieve again, it's huge.
Multiple sclerosis. For the millions affected by it, there is hope for a cure. We are truly closer than we've ever been before. And it's possible thanks to the generosity of all of you.
And the point where we began